What are you wearing?
A Canadian tuxedo.
Canadian
I'm a hockey player. Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
To all you Blues fans, we're bleeding blue with you. Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues!
BueNote Fan Report. Woo! Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Impromptu show. Justin didn't get to join me on the last one, and he wanted to do a show. I was sitting here. I was going to go drive. I said, you know what? I don't want to drive in rush hour right now, so I'll wait a little bit. Our rush hour starts at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and goes till sometimes 7. So I'll wait a little bit. I don't want to be in that because it's a pain in the ass. So I figured I sent something out to Justin and Lance and said, hey, you want to do a show? And Justin came back and said, sure. But he's having some technical difficulties. Hopefully he'll be able to pop in shortly. We would love to have him on, and we'll talk about what's going on. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. The draft is a week away. That's right, a week away. The Blues only have 3 picks. 3 picks. So what do you do? A first, a fifth, and a sixth, if I remember correctly. Right? If I remember, they don't have a second or a third, because those were given away during the signings. Let me see here if I can bring this up. So, yeah, they have a first, a fifth, and a sixth, right? I said, first, a fifth, and a sixth. You don't have a second, third, fourth, or a seventh. So what do you do there, right? Now, this isn't a deep draft, okay? Next season, 26, we have a first, third, fourth, 2 fifths, a sixth, and a seventh. We've got some maneuvering room if you think there's a piece there. I'm not sure that there will be a piece there. And he's finally made it. Hey, Justin, how you doing, buddy?
How you doing, buddy? Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties.
No issues, man. No issues. I don't know if you were here. I was just talking about, the draft coming up and talking about you doing the show today that you didn't get to talk the last time we were here. And, I just kind of messaged you, want to do a show today. I was kind of feeling it. And I got to be honest, I did that impromptu show last week, and I just did it out of nowhere. And that was the best. That was the best show I'd done in a while. I mean, I felt really good afterwards. It was like a real pick-me-up for me. So I was really glad I did it. The best show out there. Well, Aaron, I really do wish more people believe that. And I thank you, my friend. I really do. We do the best we can. So basically, so here's what we got going on. The Florida Panthers repeated, and Connor McDavid is mad. I normally would not be on Connor McDavid's side at all. But I'm a little bit, I think he's got a point here, right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, after the loss, he called out the coaching staff something fierce for not being ready, not making adjustments, and pulling the goalie too soon in Game 6. And I'm on board with that. I think he's right there, right? But at the same time, I think McDavid needs to shoulder some of the blame because McDavid is all about McDavid on the ice. I mean, to me, that's obvious. right? The majority of the stuff that he does. In fact, one of the things that happened in that game, I think it was on the second goal. The Reinhardt. I think it was Reinhardt's second goal. It was either the first or the second goal, right? And Reinhardt is Edmonton's bringing the puck, and they shoot it to the near boards, right? The way the TV camera, the near board, and Reinhardt comes up and picks the puck there. Well, here's the thing. There was a guy. Now there was a player between. There was another. So you've got, and I know. Think about their defensive zone. Near board, you have one Edmonton. You have another defenseman back here. Florida had a guy about here, and then Reinhardt comes up. The play, the conventional wisdom is you got to move the puck forward. Problem is, Reinhardt takes the puck and puts it in the back of the net, and that happens a lot in that situation where you lose the puck. If he passes the puck back, right, and puts it back in his defensive zone, everyone talks about, you got to clear the puck, you got to clear the puck. And there are periods where you need to clear the puck. I get that. But this is one of those cases where you can't clear the puck. There's nowhere for you to go. You have a guy coming up on you. If you go back, you opens up some ice. And that's one of the bad things in hockey that I see consistently. That I really hope someone goes out there and finally makes some changes to it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a good old fashioned reset and regroup kind of situation when it comes to playing the puck back in your own zone. But that's going to come with chemistry and communication with your defenseman, because you can't you can't just throw the puck back and expect your defenseman to be ready for it. You need to make sure that you're communicating and all that. And I didn't look or listen to all the Connor McDavid comments. I've seen a bunch of stuff on it, and I think it just comes with the territory of having a superstar on your team. Connor McDavid he's the best player in the world, and anybody who disputes that, I highly doubt your thought process. He's the best player in the world, and he's going to be frustrated. I would be frustrated too, but I'm not going to blame McDavid, although he did only have he only had one goal in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, his production wasn't fantastic in the finals, but the thing is Connor McDavid is a star, and the Edmonton Oilers, quite frankly, are not there without Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl putting up what they put up, 30, 40 points in the playoffs.
No. Well, McDavid was 28 points himself or something like that. He had 26, 27 assists, right? They were so far ahead.
Yeah, they were so far ahead of everybody else on Edmonton, and that's the problem with Edmonton. I get slack for, calling it out, but I'm not a big Edmonton supporter. Yeah. I think, obviously, it's easy enough to say, hey, you take the two best players off their team and then they're nothing, and I get that. That's kind of stupid logic, but when you look at the Oilers, what do the Oilers really have outside of those two guys? They don't have much depth, outside of those guys.
Yeah. No, for the Oilers, and first of all, unrelated note, do you think you'll do a show? I will do a show during the first round next Friday. Right? I will be on for the first round next Friday. I will not do day 2 because the Blues only have 2 picks and they're late, 5th and 6th round. And to just sit there all day to wait for those 2 picks. So, yeah, I mean, the Blues could make a trade, but I just don't think it's worth it to me. And I could see the Blues trading that pick at number 19. Right? This isn't a deep draft. The 2 or 3 left-handed defensemen that have been talked about, none of them are like guys that are going to be here in a year or two, right? So if that's the case, if this isn't a deep draft, what could you get for a first round pick? What could you get for the number 19 overall? Could you get a first round next year, maybe? Right? Could you end up with a first round next year, or could you end up with a first and a third next year, or a first and a second, or what else could you get if this isn't a deep draft? And right now, I'm looking at the Blues' depth and going, I'm okay with where we're at. I don't think we need anything. Right? You want to bring in some defensemen? Great, but what we've got now, I mean, I don't know if it's worth it.
I mean, and I kind of hate to go back to circling back to the thing, but like don't get me wrong, like Edmonton has been in the finals 2 years in a row now. But when you look at a team like Edmonton and a team like St. Louis and you compare the two, the depth amongst all really shows for St. Louis compared to Edmonton, down the whole lineup. The Blues don't have Connor McDavid. The Blues don't have a Leon Draisaitl, but they do have a Robert Thomas. They do have a Jordan Kyrou. They will have a Jimmy Snuggerud. They're they have a Jake Neighbors. They have got, and this kind of comes full circle about what we've been talking about for shows now, about how we say the Blues are a blue collar team. They're not a team that's built with Wayne Gretzky's and Connor McDavid's and Nathan McKinnon's. They're a bunch of blue collar guys that buy into a system, play hard, and they have a lot of depth when it comes to when they're competing, for cups and all that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I absolutely agree with you. In a 7-game series against Edmonton, I think the Blues take it to 7 games, right? I think that Bennington is so much better than Skinner or their backup that they're not going to have a game where they win. And you look at that. I mean, two of their wins were in overtime, right? I think both their wins were in overtime. Yeah. Right. So the first 3 games of that went to overtime, and the second game went to double overtime. So when you're actually no, I think I'm wrong.
Sorry,
the fourth game went to overtime. But I'm pretty sure Edmonton won 2 of their games in overtime. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong,
They did. They did.
Right?
They did.
Right?
Yeah, they did. I believe, yeah.
Well, I can look at it here real quick.
The thing with that series, I have a lot of thoughts on it, and I'm probably amongst maybe the minority. But the viewership kind of shows it too. I didn't have much interest in this series, to be completely honest with you, and the way that it panned out, like it kind of just, really pinpointed how I actually felt about it. I thought that this was just a power play simulator, like having so many penalties, just not letting them play. I mean, the Panthers controlled the Panthers controlled like 300 minutes of this series, and the Oilers controlled like only like 30 minutes of the whole series. I mean, it wasn't even close.
Yeah. So I looked it up. Games 1, 2, and 4 went to overtime. Game 3 was the ass whipping, the 6-1, right? But when you're kind of looking at this, right? You look at the 2 games that they won; they were both overtime. The problem is here when you straight look to it, Panthers just dominated the series, right?
Yeah, it wasn't enjoyable,
right? They dominated the series. I thought it could go 6. I thought Edmonton had a chance to win Game 6, but like I said, that second goal, or that either the first or the second Reinhart goal, the unassisted one. Let me look it up. I think it was the second one. No, it's the first one. That unassisted goal, that was right there. That was it. That was what kind of it just let that series. It changed it changed everything Edmonton's doing. Just went out the window at that point. I think McDavid needs to go to a team where, to be honest, he needs to go to a team where he's not the superstar, where he doesn't need to be the superstar. But the problem is at $14 million per, you're killing. look, I understand, and I'm going to say this straight up. I understand these guys' careers are not, I mean, like my Navy career, 20 years, that's it, right? At the max, 20 years. The majority of them, 10 years, is about the average NHL career. You got to get all the money you can get, because not only that, when these guys end their careers, most of them, this isn't like in the 60s and 70s where these guys got regular jobs and had college degrees and all that stuff. The majority of them stay in hockey, and you're not making the money you were before, or so get out of the game and the money goes away. The expenses don't. So I understand making what you got to make when you got to make it. But at the same time, if what you're making is hurting the team, what good is that to you?
Yeah. I mean, you have, don't get me wrong, the guys should get paid. Leon Draisaitl should get paid. But it really does show that it hurts a team in the long run because distance. I've been hearing a lot of like how Edmonton is they just ran into a wagon. And yeah, Florida is a wagon. They're a team that I just didn't see any team beating. I mean, they're just an all-around complete team. But the thing is for me, I'm looking at the Edmonton Oilers. I didn't give Edmonton a chance at all in these playoffs. And I think I had valid reason not to. After them losing Holloway and Broberg, I look at that team and I just say, like, it's the way I felt last season. I thought that their route to the Cup was not all that challenging. I mean, they played some good teams in there, but like, look at LA. LA choked that series.
Yeah.
LA had that series and they choked it. Vegas losing in 5. That was on no one's bingo card. Vegas should not have been out in 5 games. Yeah. That is a poor performance by a team that made it to the second round. Yeah. And they didn't even play good against Minnesota. Vegas snuck out against Minnesota. Minnesota probably could have beat Vegas. And then they played Dallas. And Dallas, quite frankly, didn't even play a good series against Winnipeg. Winnipeg is just not that good of a team. And
I think
Stars were just better.
I think we beat Dallas, but I don't know about. Like I said, Edmonton goes 7 games, and anything can happen in 7 games. But I think the Blues.
I think we beat. Yeah.
If the Blues get the same Dallas that played Edmonton, we beat Dallas. Now, if we get the same Dallas from last season, we lose to Dallas.
It's a little bit more challenging. It's a little bit more challenging. Yeah. But I don't think it's impossible, but I think it.
I do think it, and I'll say this: a lot of people didn't. So in the history of the Conn Smythe, and I could be wrong on this, 6 guys have won it from a losing team, right? Mm-hmm. Only 1 has not accepted it. I remember
Connor McDavid.
Yeah, I wasn't Guy Hubert. Oh God, I can't remember. It was a Ducks goalie. I can't think of his name right now. I probably have to go look it up, but it was a Ducks goalie. And even in a losing effort, he still went out and got that trophy. It was ecstatic and said thank you to the fans and the media for saying, hey, I did a good job, even though we lost. Right? And now, in the earlier history of the Cup, there's a couple of guys they could have given it to that may not have come up because then, how was it might not have been awarded. I don't know. But in recent history, in the history that I can think of, right, you just don't think that, a guy's not going to come and get the trophy. And I think, look, I get you lost a tough game. I get all that. But you know what? The fans and the media, they told you that you did something good. You should have come out there taking your lump. Because you know what? I guarantee you that Florida crowd would have cheered the shit out of him. I don't think they would have booed him. They would have cheered the living shit out of him. Right? And I don't know. I put a poor taste in my mouth. It really did. Right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it all comes down to, I mean, and this behavior doesn't shock me, though. Like I said, Connor McDavid, and I kind of want to circle back a little bit to what you were saying, because I think it's kind of agree to disagree situation that I feel on this one, when you said that, like, Connor McDavid needs to go to a team where he's not the superstar. I'm going to be honest with you. There's not many guys in the league that really give McDavid a run for his money. I think if I'm thinking of one person, it's probably Nathan McKinnon, and that's probably the closest. And he's not going to Colorado because Colorado could never swing that.
Yeah.
So there is no team, in my opinion.
Drysdale, but what I'm saying, what I mean him not being the superstar is he goes there and they just tell him, we're not expecting you to lead the team. Or lead the team in goals, or we're expecting you to be Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky had more assists than he had goals. This is the thing with Wayne Gretzky, and most people don't really realize it. If you took away every single goal he scored in the league, do you know where he would rank on the list of all-time point scorers?
I would assume still very high.
How about this? Number 1. If you took every single goal away, he would still lead the league in points. Right?
Yep. Crazy time.
I think Yager got close to within that 900 goal mark, the within that 1,000 mark, got close to it, but he would still lead it. He would still absolutely lead. So Gretzky, while he did score goals, he was a center that passed the puck. He was a guy that made guys better. He made other guys better. He got the puck to guys where they were going to score. Right? Mm-hmm. And not only that, Gretzky knew enough to know he couldn't do it alone. In fact, this is what everyone, when Gretzky got traded to LA, right? He wouldn't go unless Marty McSorley went with him. Right? That's how strong he was. Yeah. Marty, I'm not going. You got to trade him. Because he knew without Marty McSorley, he wasn't going to be as well. Right? And in LA, he was it. They didn't have the foundation around him to help him. And it took a while. I mean, they got to the finals in '93 when Montreal beat them. But there was no way you were not beating Montreal in the 75th anniversary season of the NHL. You just weren't, right? At that point, Montreal was the franchise, the 23 cups and all this stuff. So, but Gretzky understood if he had good play, if he could make good players great, right? To me, it doesn't feel like McDavid does that. He makes good players better, but he doesn't make them great.
I would say I think a good instance of this is Edmonton Oilers fans who have complained since losing. Oh well, if we had Zach Hyman in the lineup, we would have beat Florida. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't have beat Florida. Zach Hyman is relevant because Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl make him relevant. I'm sorry to break it to you, Oilers fans. Oh, yeah. Zach Hyman is not a world beater. Believe me, he is not. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
But Connor McDavid and then make him look better than what he is.
Yeah. But again, he makes a good player better. There's a difference between making a good player better and making a good player great. Right? Yeah. Gretzky made good players great. He made Marty McSorley great. Well, Marty McSorley made him great. They played off of each other. Right? And the other thing that this final shows you is how important the goalie is. Now, this is everyone. I'm waiting for someone to go, but God, you always say it's about offense. And it is. But you got to have and again, looking at this through an electron microscope, you've got to have an above average goalie, right? And again, when I say above average, I'm talking about the average. There's only 64 men that play goalie in the NHL. Okay? So the worst goalie in the NHL is an extremely good goalie, right? In the tens of thousands of people that play goalie, you're number 64, you're pretty fucking good. You know what I mean? But when it comes down to it, having a goalie that's in the 30s isn't going to get you there. And Skinner, when you look at Skinner, I don't look at Skinner and go, he's that. If you put him on another team, his numbers aren't what they are. Right?
Yeah.
What this all comes back to is, and I said this during that game 6, you got to get Hofer signed. You got to get Hofer signed. And Hofer's an RFA. Somebody
definitely need a lock.
Somebody's going to offer him starter money, right? A team that is on the fringe and needs a goalie is going to look at Hofer and how he did with the Blues. I think he had 31. He had 31 appearances. He won 16 games. I don't know his complete numbers. I'd have to look him up. I can look him up here in a second. But Hofer was a 263 and a 900, maybe a 910, right? That gets you to the playoffs, no matter what. That gets you to the second or third round if you got the supporting cast. For Edmonton, that gets them a cup. A goaltender like Hofer gets them the cup. And I'm gonna look up Hofer's stats here real quick. Give me just a moment.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I get where you're coming from. And I agree that the Blues need to lock Hofer down. But I will say, I'm not on the the line of saying that Hofer wins Edmonton a cup. I think Hofer is a good goalie, and I think he'll be a great goalie for years to come. But is he the guy that's going to solve Edmonton's problems? I mean, I think Edmonton would definitely try. I mean, look at their goaltending over, for however long that they've had this problem. They've never had a goalie that's been a superstar for them. So, I mean, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But for me, as of right now, Hofer hasn't, been in the league. What, it was his first, season last season, right? Or was it before?
No, second season. So here's Hofer's numbers, right? This season he played in 31 games. I don't know how many started. I have to go and look. 16 wins, 8 losses, 3 it says 3 ties, 1 shootout loss. I don't know where the ties come through. Overtime, I don't know. That's kind of a weird, I don't know why it's put in there. But I might be okay, tie is an overtime loss. Okay. And then 2 shootout losses, right? So he had 4 overtime losses, right? I think that's right. Yeah. Ties plus overtime shootout losses. Okay, so he had so the 1 shootout loss is in the tie. I think. I'm not completely sure. But when then he get to his numbers, he was a 264 and a 904. And he played at those numbers. I think in a full season, a full 50 games, 60 games, right? Now his career, he's 69 games, 35 wins, 22 losses, 5 shootout losses, or 5 overtime losses, 271 and a 907. That's his numbers. I think those are those are his numbers. And when you look at that, let me get this here. Okay, so he started 28. So this was he's been in the league for 4 years. This was his second full season as a backup, right? Last season he played in 30 games. He started 27. He was 15, 12, and 1, with a 265 and a 913. This season he started 28 games with 16, 8, and 3, with a 904 and a 264. So like I said, that's his numbers. And for Edmonton, that gets you a cup, because you think in Edmonton his numbers are going to be elevated a little bit. Right? And I'm going to see if I can look up Skinner. Is it Jeff Skinner or Stuart Skinner? Stuart Skinner, right?
Stuart Skinner.
Yeah,
Jeff Skinner. Jeff Skinner is also on their team.
Yeah, but he's not.
Skinner.
So here we go. Here's Skinner. The last 2 years as a starter, right? He started 57 games. He was 36, 16, and 5 with a 905 and a 262. This season, he started 50 games, was 26, 18, and 4 with a 896 and a 281.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me Hoffer's numbers aren't going to be better than that, are going to be worse than that, or even the same. I think Hoffer's numbers are going to be better.
Oh, they're definitely going to be better. But the reason why I have my take on things with Hofer is because the problem with Edmonton isn't getting into the playoffs. Edmonton can get into the playoffs based on Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid doing, superstar things. That's what they do. They've clearly done it. Skinner has been a absolutely horrendous, and I will say horrendous starter. But it hasn't mattered. The problem with Edmonton isn't making the playoffs. It's winning in the very end. And I think Hofer does give them a better chance, but Hofer has not played in a playoff series. Hofer has not played a playoff game yet in the NHL level, at the NHL level. So that's why I'm saying I'm not 100% certain that he could carry the Oilers to a cup, because playoffs is different than regular season. I think he definitely puts up better numbers than Skinner in the regular season, but we're talking about the playoffs.
So in all actuality, the only thing that the Blues need to do, it's right here in front of us trying to do the math. The only thing the Blues need to do to wrap up Hofer is give him a qualifying offer, right? Once they give him a qualifying offer, now, and he can still sign an offer sheet, but that's all the Blues have to do. They keep his rights, okay? The qualifying offer for him is $813,000. You're absolutely going to give him his qualifying offer. I don't think McDavid walks. I really don't, bud. Holloway is still better and cheaper than Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner combined. Boberg better than all the defensemen Edmonton has. I don't know about that. Boberg being better
Bouchard.
Huh?
Bouchard is the only defenseman I think on the Oilers who is better than Broberg currently. But that doesn't mean that I don't think Broberg won't be there. And I'm telling you right now, I meant it when I said I'm not a big Edmonton Oilers guy. I think Edmonton's defense, although it showed like it was a juggernaut in these playoffs for the first 3 rounds, I don't think that their defense is as good as what it was represented in those series. I just think that the teams that they played either choked or didn't play up to the caliber that we know that they can play.
So I want to address this, Matlow. So I did do some checking on this, and I asked a couple of people that I know that might have information, and all I could get was he just went home. He's coming back. It's not that he's going to Russia to stay. I don't think he is. I think that he struggles with English, and he was a little homesick. He went home, but he's coming back. I really believe that. Right? I absolutely believe that. And Ellis had a extremely good season for Springfield.
Yeah.
Right.
Ellis is going to be a stud.
Final. Look, when it comes Holloway and Boberg, Edmonton couldn't afford them. Right. And
well, no, I would say Holloway. They definitely could have. They definitely could have matched Holloway. They definitely could have matched Holloway. They could have. They just chose not to.
They were the cap limit. They didn't have the $2 million. Yeah, that's what I think. There's being too much read into that, Wendy. I absolutely agree with you on that. Right? No. Sorry, let me try this a little better. No, I just kind of lost where my place was.
We were talking about the what the hell? I forgot about it.
Yeah. Well, here's one. I want to bring this up. So Matt Lowe, the other day when we had this conversation, Matt Lowe thinks that we should spend $16 million on Holloway and Boberg right now. Now they each have a year left on their contract, and they have 2 more years before their UFAs. He thinks that we should give them both 8x8s. I say no. I think it's too much of a raise for one season. I say give them 3-year deals, take them right up to that point. Boberg was making 4, you give him 6. Holloway was making 2. I think you can bump Holloway up to 5. Right, and that's actually a little more than I think. That's $11 million. That's still more of a raise than I think they should get. But I think that's enough to keep somebody from offer sheeting. Well, they couldn't be offer sheeted anyway. Well, next year they could be offer sheeted. But this is doing a extension. You're doing an extension, right?
Well, if you want, I can give you my opinion. I think I'm gonna have to go with agreeing with your side here. I think paying for those guys and giving them 8x8s right now is not the best idea. I like Holloway and I like Broberg, and I think that they're gonna be good players, man. Like they showed it. I don't think you lose that touch. I think obviously you got the new team bump that happens every time, someone, a player gets traded to a new team.
Yeah.
So you have that. But if Holloway and Broberg play like they did this season, next season, then I have no issue with them bumping Holloway up to a $5 million, extension, and Broberg, to a 6. I have no problem with that. The cap is also going to be up. So paying those guys is really going to be very minimal. And I think the one thing that gets lost in translation with a lot of fans is these people are human. So, I mean, let's not say that, even though Holloway and Broberg have just outstanding seasons again, that they say, man, I really like playing in St. Louis. I really like the guys here. I'm not even going to take that much money. Who's to say? I mean, obviously you want to make money because you have families, you need to support yourself and all that. But players do take cuts for teams and organizations and cities that they like playing for. Yeah. It's happened all the time.
Yeah, I get what Wendy's saying, with the salary cap going up, pays going up. I think in the upper range, pay might go up. But in the middle and the lower range, I think it's going to stay closer, right? I think that – so it's going up – and Lance told me this wasn't going to happen, and I knew it was. This year it's going up to $90 million, so it's going up almost $4.5 million. Next year it's going to $95 million, up $5 million. The COVID hold, which of only going up $1 million a year, you knew at some point that was going to catch up to the NHL, and this is where it's catching up. He says that's why 8x8 for those two would be a deal in 2 to 3 years. Actually, no, I don't think it. I so disagree with you, Matt. I just think that You're spending that money now? Wait, hold on. And let me put it to you this way. When we first put that money out, that same money that you're talking about, when we first gave that to Thomas and Kyrou, how many people absolutely went effing berserk that we were paying those guys that much? And those was the reason that we lost Tarasenko and O'Reilly and Perron and all these other guys because of paying those. Huh?
I actually wanted to bring. I'm glad that you brought that up because that was my next point about the 8x8s. I get Blues fans are passionate. We're not, I don't think we're, Toronto levels passionate. Those they get crazy. But St. Louis fans are passionate. How many times did Blues fans bitch and complain about Kyrou and Thomas not being worth their contracts after, one bad pass or one bad game or a 3-game, skid where they didn't score? How many times did we have bipolar emotional fans after, giving those guys those contracts? And I'm not saying that you're going to do that.
Kyrou's still a Pyra. He's still a Pyra, right? He's still looked at negatively. He's still, all that Berube shit has left a stink on Kyrou that he can't get off no matter what he does. And I will never forget this game. When I heard this, I knew this is when I knew Berube was not going to be a good coach anymore. There was a game 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Kyrou had 2 goals and an assist and was the first star of the game. Berube got asked about him, and the last thing out of his mouth was, yeah, but he gave up the puck twice in the neutral zone or something negative like that. And that sticks. That sticks. And then you got what freaking Rutherford did to Kyrou. That was so wrong. What Rutherford and the majority of the fan base got on Kyrou. They were booing Kyrou, and the guy that should have been booing was Rutherford. First of all, Rutherford should have never asked that fucking question. Never. He knew better. This is not a first-year journalist student. This is a guy that's been covering the team for 20 years. And he asked that question after practice before a game. When this guy is just concentrating and asked that question, there's no fuck. People should have blasted the shit out of fucking Rutherford for that, and they didn't.
I saw both sides in that situation, and I think we've kind of talked about this before. I don't like fans who boo their own players.
Yeah.
I really, 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 really don't. But I also think in a sense, although I'm not disagreeing with you, I do think that it kind of gave Kyrou thicker skin, and I think Kyrou was better off for it. I think it was honestly it was crazy. It kind of hit in the feels a little bit to see him actually physically get emotional.
If he doesn't
in the post game,
the second game. So the first game after it, he got booed bad, right? The next game he has that huge game. I think he had a hat trick or he just had a huge game. And that's when he got emotional. If he doesn't have that game, Kyrou's not on this team anymore. Kyrou goes, if the fans would have booed him that next game, Kyrou straight goes to Armstrong and says, trade me. I honestly believe that. Right?
I don't know. I think maybe. I think I'm more so 50-50 because although maybe it could have been for media and to create a character, a presence, through the media kind of thing, with him getting emotional. But when I listened to that, it sounded like he was genuine, that he actually liked playing, that he likes playing in St. Louis and he likes the fans.
I agree with you, but if he would have had to continue to shoulder the load from the fans on Berube, I think that at some point he calls it. He says, enough, I'm done. Right? And let me tell you this.
I think at some point,
I was at an event. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you there, Justin. But I wanted to bring this up. I was at an event earlier at the beginning of the season, and had media members at this event. Small group, able to ask questions. The media members in this group, Kyrou wasn't even on the ice. It was a optional practice, and they still had negative things to say about him. Right?
Yeah.
Not going to say who they were. I'm not going to call them out. That's. I take these groups to be more private than public. I was a guest. It wasn't so. But that stigma is still there on him, and it makes no sense to me because this guy, he's led the team in goals 2 years in a row. He was first in points last season, second in points this season, right? Not that far off a point per game, 0.97 something per game, 9.8 something per game, something around, along those lines. And hold on, let me look it up here.
Well, what did we talk about, Guy? Like, what did I say when we were talking, the Winnipeg series and, the preview of it and just, a few shows back? I will say it again, and I stick to it. 2024, 2025, it was the best Jordan Kyrou we have got in a St. Louis Blues uniform. So the people that still are harping on him, I don't particularly understand it. For me, I've already told you this. I was critical of Kyrou. I gave Kyrou a hard time. I mean, I wasn't booing him, because I don't like that. And I wasn't complaining about his contract or anything like that. But there was simplistic things that he was doing that just a superstar should not do, like overskating the puck. How many times did he overskate the puck this season? I can maybe count on one hand, maybe.
Yeah, it was. But you know what? Here's my problem with that. And my issue with this is that's not his. Kyrou is an offensive player, not a defensive player. And sometimes overskating the puck is because the guy didn't pass it right. The guy passed it behind him.
No.
A lot of that. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. What I was referring to,
mm-hmm.
it wasn't defensive. I'm talking about this is, Kyrou with the puck. Like, he physically has the puck in his possession and he's skating too fast and he's just overskating the puck when he's in the neutral zone. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. It's something you have to go back and actually physically, watch from those games from seasons before. But he would have possession and he would be skating way too fast and he would be losing the puck, on simple entries. And it would be causing turnovers and everything. But Kyrou has become a better two-way player. I mean, look at his plus minus. He was a plus what this season? Like plus, what was he, like a plus 21 maybe?
Plus 23.
He was great.
I think he led the team in plus minus, or he was second. He was up.
He might have.
Yeah.
He
had a
He was up there for sure.
He had 0.85 points per game, right? So here, I'll look it up here real quick. I'm gonna pull the roster up here in a second. No. Plus minus. Yeah, he led the team in plus minus. Holloway and Boberg were plus 21, Thomas 20, Bolduc 20. Right? Fowler plus 19 for the, I don't know if that's for the season or just the time he was with the Blues. It might have just been the time he was with the Blues. But yeah, so I look at Kyrou. Yeah, so I was right. Yeah, thank you. There are times when Kyrou turned it over too. He was not strong on the puck. Okay, but
yes,
you know what? So did Hull. Right? And I don't remember anybody ever bitching about Hull's defense. Nobody. Right? I don't remember anybody. In fact, I remember if you read the book, I read the book Blues Fire about their 25th anniversary season. And, there's one point where they think, I think this is when Cujo gets traded, right? But they think Hull's going to get traded. Hull makes a joke. Look who learned how to skate backwards in the offseason, or something like that. No one expected Hull to play defense at any period of his career. He wasn't a defensive guy. He was Now, yes, Kyrou has not scored 70, 82, and 74. He hasn't. Could that happen? I don't know. Maybe. But he is that pure goal scorer. At least I think he is.
Well, I think Kyrou could hit a 50 goal mark. I do. My thing for me, it doesn't come from a place of hate or negativity or anything like that. Jordan Kyrou is a great player. I just knew that it wasn't going to be, sunshines and rainbows all the time. Players make mistakes. I'm not just getting on to Kyrou. There's other players in the league that, are considered, superstars and, do simple mistakes. My thing was coming from a place of, I want to see Kyrou at the best of his ability, and that's exactly what we got this season. We got a defensive guy who was back-checking like hell. I mean, that guy was speeding back on every play, breaking it up, breaking up passes, getting in passing lanes. He was defensive, but he was also adding a scoring touch. Me personally, it's great that a guy could score, 60 goals, but I like a defensive, guy who's buying into a system who can, put up 40 goals and be plus, have the best plus minus on the team. That's impressive to me.
Well, I mean, I think
that's Ryan O'Reilly kind of.
I guarantee you he can. I'm with you. He can put up 50, but some of that defensive stuff that he does, he's got to back off, and then he's going to hear it. But this is turning it over in the offensive end, not the defensive end. Yeah, I get where you're going.
Yes.
So we're kind of running out of time, and there's one thing that I really want to talk about in the last 7-8 minutes we got here. The Blues are rebranding the Note, right? And what I think they're going to is this, right? What I think they're going to is this Note, right? The thinner shaft. I don't know if you can see that, Justin. I know you have eyesight issues.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've seen the jerseys, so I mean, I do know kind of what it is. I kind of.
So I kind of think that that's what they're going to go to, and I honestly, I'm at work watching you. Hope I don't get caught. If I do, I want you to pay my salary. Sorry, that's on you, buddy.
Yeah, that's on you.
Yeah. So no, I like them. So about every three to 5 years, they update the Note, and it helps refresh jersey sales. I like that. I don't have a problem with it. I get it. It makes sense. The only thing that I wish they go back to, and I'm probably gonna, is this, right? I like this a lot.
My dad does too. My dad's a big fan of
yeah,
that.
I like that logo. I like that logo a lot, and I always have. It's been one of my favorite ones. One of the ways to generate revenue from the new cap. Yeah, it has something to do with it, but also, when you have a new jersey maker, right, they want to put their mark on the jersey, so they want to have their own style of jersey come out. And with Fanatics now, and right now, Fanatics is they're feeling the heat. They're feeling the heat from NHL fans. Well, not just NHL fans. They're feeling the heat from all fans about the quality of their jerseys. They are absolutely feeling the heat. So they're going to need, Fanatics knows that they need to step their game up because they've been put on notice by a couple of the leagues that, if they keep, the leagues keep hearing about these poor quality, they're going to, drop out. So, at least that's the rumor I'm hearing that Fanatics is getting some, because if you go online and look, the quality is starting to get better. Right. Quality starting to get better. So we will see that.
I think for me, so, I mean, are we expecting, I don't know how I don't know kind of what goes into, I'm not like a artistic, person, creative kind of in that sense, but like, do you think that we get, the Blues in a new type of jersey? Because the way that I've felt it for quite a long time is I don't know if I mentioned this to you. I wish the Blues would use the light blue Winter Classic jerseys as their home jerseys. And I've always felt that way. Yes, those. I wish that they would use those as their home jerseys. And kind of get away from the darker blue. I don't hate it. I think we have some of the better jerseys in the league, if I'm honest. I think I mentioned to you this before. I don't think the Blues would ever do it. But I think adding and doing something like Toronto did when they implemented black in a jersey. I don't know if you know what jersey I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. No, I don't want that. I actually, if the Blues are going to do anything along that line, and I know I'm going to be on the, minority on this, is go back to what I say affectionately known as the clown jersey, right? I actually really, really like the clown jersey, and the reason I like it, and I know people that they don't say that or they don't see it as much, but I like the symbology of the jersey. There's a lot of symbology in that jersey and people don't realize it. First of all, you always hear that the red, it was just because somebody else had red in it. Well, to me, I look at the red and I go, that's the St. Louis flag. That's what it's representing. It's representing the flag of St. Louis. And if you want to sit there and go, well, I don't think it is, well, why not? It's exactly, to me, that's exactly what it's representing. And that's what makes kind of sense. And then, the red that goes around the note, it highlights the note. I like that. I like the highlighting of the note. I like the thinner note that they're going to, the quarter staff, or, the staff here is going to be, this part here.
Yeah.
This part
I do like.
Yeah, it's going to be thinner. Right, it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, I do like that.
It's going to be a lot closer to the note that was on the Winter Classic jersey, right?
Yes.
It's going to be closer to this.
Yes,
right?
And I like that. That's kind of, but I mean, I don't know how you felt because you didn't really answer. I mean, how would you feel about having that type, that jersey as a home jersey?
No,
that light blue jersey.
No.
You would not.
I think it being a special occasion jersey is where it should stay. And the reason I say that is as good as it is, if you're making it an everyday jersey, you're taking away from how good it is. And how are you going to come up with something better? Right? Because now, what are you going to?
This is true.
What are you going to do for your special occasion jerseys? Because you got to come up with something better than that. And the only thing that I think that's better than that is a jersey that, from what I've heard, and I don't know this for a fact, that Stillman hates, is the one with this. Right? Because to me, that's the closest thing you're going to get. And I have one here. I mean, I could pull it out real quick if you want me to, but I don't think that you're going to get.
Go ahead.
I just don't think that you're going to get the if you use that as the everyday, what are you going to get better? Right? And that's where I struggle with that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that it kind of, and I do agree that it kind of loses its appeal, I guess, in a way. It kind of loses, like, devalues it in a way if you use it as an everyday. I just, for me, I like it so much, it wouldn't devalue to me. But I will say, going back to what you were saying earlier, you're not, I mean, at least your co-host is not in the majority. I like the clown jerseys. I think the clown jerseys are sick. I like them.
Yeah,
but
well, see, for me, I look at that, and I've got a couple of different I've got like 50 jerseys, something like that. Maybe not 50. I think I might be. I'm probably closer to 20, but I've got a pretty good number of them. And I have jerseys going all the way back to the 80s, right? I have jerseys going back to the 80s. For me, the one thing about the Blues, their jerseys have always been classic. Now, a lot of people don't like the Gretzky era clown jerseys, and I get it to a point, but I think that the reason they don't like it was the way it was brought out, right? I think that had a lot to do with it. It was too big of a change, too quick, right? And then there's also, like, what they did is they came up with something even more hideous to make it not the trumpet jersey that Keenan supposedly.
Yeah.
But I think they knew that no way would the trumpet jersey ever come out, but this was a way to make the clown jersey not seem so bad. So, but to me, it was just too much too soon.
I may be, like I said, I may be in, or actually I haven't said it yet, but I may be in the minority. And it may come off as a little biasing, as you know, I'm a Blues fan and all that. I think the Blues rarely miss when it comes to jerseys. I think the Blues have some of the better jerseys in the league, and most people won't agree, but I really, really do. I think the Blues always seem to hit a home run. I even like the yellow jerseys that they wore.
That's the one right there. If you went to that as your special jersey, then maybe I might just have to be okay with that. But I still, I do like the yellow jersey. I really do. But it's also a little too close to the Predators, right? And I don't want a jersey close to one of our rivals.
Well, not. I was not saying like as like a home jersey. I just was saying I like the yellow jersey, like in general. That's all that was. I think that yellow jersey could only be like for like in a special occasion kind of thing, like you said. I don't think you use it as an everyday.
Well, I remember my question was, if you wanted to go to this as your standard jersey, what are you going to use as your special? Well, you know, the yellow is probably the, other than the, see, and that's the one thing that I like about this jersey is the dark blue. I really like the dark blue, right? I mean, I don't have a problem with the light blue. I don't, and the standard blue, but I like the dark blue. I think the dark blue with the circle emblem just stands out to me, right? Here's a good question for us to end the day on. Hey, you know, what he's asking is, does Sonny sit more next season, or is he traded away? I think Sonny gets traded, to be honest with you, right? I think Sonny's getting paid to be a fourth line center, and he wasn't any good at it. And while he played third line, he wasn't. He didn't make that third line. The third line wasn't better because Sonny was on the third line, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it actually kind of took away from that third line kind of being more effective, I think.
Yeah, right. It wasn't better because he was on it. I get everybody likes him. I get he's a cup guy, and I get all of that. But I actually thought beginning of the season when I was at the practices, the preseason practices, the preseason stuff, I told somebody right then, I looked at it and I said, man, they need to put him on LTIR. I felt they need to just put him on LTIR and burn a year, right? And,
Yeah.
you know, it was great that he came back, but still, even then, I don't think he played at full tilt, you know, 100% at all during the season. I really don't.
No.
But again, I don't think that he ever will again.
Yeah, no, I don't. Sundqvist has not reached the level that he was in 2019, and I don't think that'll ever happen again.
Yeah. See,
And that's and another set to say. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh no, I just was saying I don't think he reaches that level again. It's nothing against Sonny. Like I said, I like Sundqvist. I really do. I think he's a character guy. I think he's a great guy for the locker room. But that goal for the Blues is to get him off that third line. Your goal should be signing Radek Faksa, keep him on the fourth line, and upgrading center spot.
Hold on. Let me ask you this: what do you sign Faksa at?
I would say, as a fourth liner, I would say if he's taking maybe about, if he's willing to take about 1.5, 1.75, that's probably where I would put it.
He's making 3.2 now, right?
Yeah, he is.
I'm not paying him that. And now here's the thing. This is the thing that I really looked at. Faksa didn't make that line, right? Walker made that line. Walker is what made that line work, not Faksa. Could you put Sonny on that line and it still work? Maybe, but I don't think Sonny works as hard as Faksa did. However, I'm thinking of, there was a game, the Blues ended up winning 2-0. It was the last game. It was against Utah. It was the last game that Walker sat out. And I remember watching that game and the whole game going, I can tell Walker's not here. The level of intensity in that game was not there. And then 2 games before that, he was out against Dallas, and we lost that one 2-0. And same thing. You could tell the difference between when Walker was in the lineup and when Walker wasn't in the lineup. Well, if Faksa made that big of a deal to me, Walker being out of the lineup shouldn't have mattered. But you could tell the whole team was different with Walker out of the lineup. I'm not paying Faksa $3.25 million. I don't even think he's worth $2 million. No. Right?
No. And I think,
do you take that big of a pay cut? Could he get the 3.25 somewhere else? And I think he could. I honestly think Faksa's going to get the money somewhere else. I think he's gone. And I really think we need to come up with a high energy center to play with those guys. And if Sundqvist's knee injury is better and he can be that high energy guy, great. But this season he wasn't.
Yeah, I think I'm just thinking of everything as a whole. I think that line of Walker, Toropchenko, and Faksa, for me, I feel like you try to make that work. Obviously, it's a big pay cut, and yeah, you're probably right. Faksa probably doesn't take it, but this goes back to what I was talking about before. Players are human, so if Faksa liked playing with Walker and Toropchenko, and he sees a vision for St. Louis, because St. Louis is on the up. St. Louis is no longer in the muddy middle. St. Louis is no longer trending downwards. St. Louis is trending upwards. The only way I think that we're going now is up. So
yeah, I agree.
I think if Faksa sees that vision as well, I could see him taking that pick, especially if he's playing on the fourth line and he knows his role is being a guy who can. First of all, and
I thought about this, and it just hit me, and I don't know why I didn't think of this before. You know who I kind of like to put on that fourth line in Faksa's place, right? This is thinking way outside the box. Snuggerud.
Yeah, you could. That could. Right? It could work.
Right?
But
high energy. First of all, Snuggerud, is a high energy guy, right? We know Walker can score. We know Torpachenko can score. We know Torpachenko can skate. So now you've got a guy that can skate with Snuggerud. You got a guy that can score with Snuggerud, and you got give Snuggerud how to learn, give the chance to learn how to be an NHL center and be the quarterback on an NHL line without trying to force him to be the quarterback on the second line and putting all that extra on him, right? You know, so yeah, it's thinking outside the box a little bit, Ryan, and I know that.
I don't hate that. I don't. I'm gonna say this because I fully believe in my heart. I don't see the Blues doing that like at all.
I don't either. But
it's an idea. Like it is an idea. I think it. You know, I think it's a solid idea, but I don't think they do it. I really don't.
Try it in practice. I would try it in practice. Have them run a line. Try it in a couple of practices during the preseason. Just see how it works out. Right? Mm-hmm. Just see how it works out. And who knows? Because look, Walker, we got Walker's not going anywhere this season. And Walker, like I've said it before, and I get the look. I think Walker was the MVP of the team this year. Right? Because when he was on the ice,
I think different. Yeah. I think me personally, it's kind of hard to pick a sole MVP. I think there was a lot of guys who performed in right times. I think in the beginning of the season, you could look at a guy like Colton Parayko. Guy was outstanding. Broberg, Holloway had a great year. I mean, look at Robert Tom. Sorry.
How many guys could you look at and go, when they weren't in the lineup, I knew they weren't in the lineup? And honestly,
Robert Thomas.
No, even when Thomas was out, we were still, I mean, yeah, you could tell, but it wasn't that the team didn't play worse because he was out of the lineup. The team didn't play with less energy because he was out of the lineup. When Walker was out of the lineup, the team played worse and it played with less energy. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that Walker adds that energy. I just, like I said, I think objectively looking at it as a standpoint, like not just me individually, your MVP was Walker. But if someone told me that their MVP was Colton Parayko, fine. I'm not hating you. If you tell me that your MVP is, so and so, then I'll take your word for it.
I get it. I do. How Thomas, point per game player, would have been in the 90-point level if he'd if he
didn't get hurt.
Played the entire season at his point per game rate, and I get that. And I think honestly, and I said this before, and with Montgomery, if he has really instituted his offense and he's got buy-in, Thomas and Kyrou could be 100-point players. Holloway could be an 80-point player. Neighbors could be a 70-point player. Snuggerud could be a 50 to 60-point player in his first season and be a guy that is a Calder candidate, right?
Yeah, I mean, Snuggerud's going to be. I think Snuggerud's going to be good, especially if he's playing with, if they got him playing with Robert Thomas, and first of all, I think the one guy that I think we're kind of missing out on that's I think going to really help Snuggerud is Braden Shin. Braden Shin is he's not gonna be like that, that scoring guy who's gonna, help him, get the goals and everything, but he's gonna really take him under his wing, I think, like he's done with a bunch of the younger guys.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see that. I really can. Hey man, I'm gonna have to call this a little longer than I wanted to go. I need to go drive tonight. I want to thank you
so
much
you're good, man.
for joining me and doing a show. I believe the Blues want to get a a bridge player for the second center. If they can't or don't, I'm sure they will replace the third line center. Maybe. I'll tell you what. I talked about one last thing. I talked about this before. What I'd like to see them do is, and let me see if I can pull this up here to where it makes sense. Let me kind of go back something. I have an idea for a possible 3 lines, right? You put Thomas, Buchnevich, and Kyrou on the first line. You make the second line Holloway, Snuggerud, and Bolduc. And then you make the third line Shin. Who is that line
Neighbors.
now?
Neighbors. Neighbors,
Shin,
probably.
Neighbors, and Dvorsky.
It would be, Dvorsky.
Right? But what you do is you take that second and third line and you flip-flop them. So this is how you rotate your lines. First, second, third, fourth. First, third, second, fourth. First, second, third, fourth. First, third, second, fourth. And that way, your 2 lines the first 2 lines, you said 2 players on each line will have to play on their offside. Sometimes it doesn't matter. 1 player will, sorry. Okay. Sometimes that doesn't matter, but I don't know. I think if you did something along that lines, and I have to look at it a little better, but I think if you did something along those lines, if you want Snuggie to really, like Dvorsky's a center. He's a guy that Dvorsky plays center, right wing, Torpachenko right wing, left wing, Holloway center, left wing, Neighbors left wing, right wing, Snuggerud left wing, right wing, either side. Let them go, man. Let's just take some time and see where guys can go. They've got listed as a center. He could not do well as a center at all.
I think for line situations, I think it's going to be good to, or fun to see where players are going to be the best fit. For me, I think in the beginning of the season, I think it's going to be hard to not still run the Kyrou, Shin, and Holloway line because they were just so good. They were one of the better second lines in the league.
And you drop them down to third. You move Bolduc up to the first line in Kyrou's place, and then you put the other guys on that second line. You put the rookies on the second line.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. I mean, it would be crazy to think about Kyrou being on a third line. That'd be crazy. But I mean, then again,
not really on a third line.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how, like
2A, 2B. The way you're flip flopping them, it's 2A, 2B. They're getting the same amount of time, and they're playing the same quality of players as they would. You're just flip flopping them and giving them more time, and this way you're really giving your young guys good experience, and that's what you need right now, right? That good experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, bud, I really do.
No, you're good, man. Appreciate you getting the show in, man.
No problem. Thanks for coming on. We had a good show. We had fun. Talking. Thanks to everybody who joined us and said something. Big thank you to John Hefner, Ryan Green, Dana Light, Ashley Jones, Kyle Mead, Alaska Kyle, Aaron Nels, and Tad Dieterman for giving us some love on Facebook. If you did it on YouTube, I appreciate you there. Also, have a great day. We'll see you on Friday for the draft. Aloha, mahalo, and boys, take us out. Can I find? Oh, I got to find you first. Where are you, boys? Where are the boys? Boys!
Hawaii Blues